Welcome back, legends, to another video. It seems the news when it comes to Sony just doesn't seem to be going the way they want it. It's just going from bad to worse, from delays to their live service games, their gas games. From 12 that was there, they've cut 5 and pushed it way out to 2026, to their financial statuses. News about really what's happened to Jim Ryan has been now circulating even more. It just doesn't seem like a good time for Sony at the moment. And with all the pandering and the console sales and the software sales, it seems even their profits aren't as good as they once projected. So if you do find this video useful, do consider leaving a like and subscribe. We are trying to hit 500 likes for this video. We're also trying to hit 7,000 subs by Christmas. If you do enjoy this video and want to support it further, you can do that through my Patreon, YouTube membership, or Super Thanks, all of which goes to supporting the channel, supporting me in creating more awesome content for you. But the best part of it all is you can support me for free by simply dropping a thumbs up and a subscribe. Right, on with the actual video. And first of all, we have this on screen right here. Now, as you can see, Jwood 2010 says, the Xbox Series S outsold the PS5 in Japan for the second week in a row. That's expected to change once the PS5 Slim is out. Switch continues to dominate. Well, Switch is just on fire at the moment, and they're pretty much getting ready to dethrone the PlayStation 2. It's getting dangerously close. But with the PS5 only selling 1,217 units, Xbox for 2 weeks running now is outselling it with 4,737 units. Of course, this is primarily due to people saying that they're trying to phase out the original PlayStation 5s in place of PlayStation Slims, but a win's a win. So this here is the big one, right? This is the big one. So Sony profits slump 29%. 25 million unit PlayStation 5 target was missed. Only shipped 8.2 million PS5s this year, way below their forecast. They planned for 25, they hit 8.2. Spider-Man 2 only sold 5 million in a month. This is including pre-orders dating back to June and the PlayStation bundles. Let's not forget about that. This wasn't just 5 million people going to a shop and buying it. This was people buying it as a bundle or buying it, pre-ordering it from all the way back till June. So we're talking about 6 months here. 6 months of sales has led to 5 million. When you contrast that with Starfield, which had 11 million players within what, 2-3 days, 5 days? That's astronomical difference, right? That is the power of Game Pass. That is the Game Pass effect. And it sold as well. It sold insanely well. And it is still selling. Even though we don't have official numbers, we do know that through Steam, they sold over 2 million copies, 3 million copies. So that's just Steam alone. And then you've got all the early access purchases on Xbox and Steam. And then you've got the people that actually just went out and bought it on Xbox who wanted to have it official. So when you look at all of those in tangent, Starfield did really well. But considering this had 6 months in terms of being able to buy it, that's a bit of a yikes. Sony shared additional data, including the fact that the PlayStation Network had 107 million monthly active users as of September 30th. That's pretty damn impressive, to be fair. This is 1 million fewer compared to Q1, but up 5 million year on year. Once again, the number of PlayStation Plus subscribers has not been shared. Sony has stopped disclosing it with its last quarter's results because the last quarter results actually showed a sharp decrease by about, I think 2 or 3%, which is huge, right, in this industry. So they actually stopped showing it because they didn't want to portray negative numbers to the industry in case people took the wrong way that they might be in some form of trouble. Looking at the whole company, sales were up 8% year on year, while operating income was down 29% year on year. And as we can see down here, 325 million in total profit after all themselves is sad and pathetic. My God, no wonder Sony is cutting jobs and the fat. Their profit margin is razor thin. Wow, WTF. After all those so-called sales, shows how puny Sony is compared to Microsoft. Microsoft makes 325 million in 2 minutes. Hubris, their head has gotten way too big. They think they can keep pushing out just anything and raise prices. And this, don't forget, these are their profit margin that they're talking about here. That's with the PS, Extreme, Premium, Extras price increase around the world. There was a steep increase in that, including the 500% increase in Turkey. So, and even with all the increase, they are still down 29% year on year. The enigma that was PlayStation doesn't seem to be doing very well right now. And this clearly is an indication of why so many people are being let go, so many studios are being stripped of staff, because they're just bleeding money. And it looks like their first party sales just aren't doing it. But as you can see here, like their sales is up by 8%, operating income down by 29%, income before income taxes is down by 31%, the net income attributable is down by 29%, net income attributable to Sony Group Corporation stockholders per share is down 64.8 yen, adjustable OIBDA is, everything across the board is down. Everything across the board is down. This is not looking good for Sony, I have to say. And it seems they might not have anything planned for 2024 either, other than third-party games, which is kind of worrying when you think about it. Here you can see, let's wrap up their financial status. You can see here, Sony President, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki says he will be an interim CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment from April 24 for a maximum of 1 year, and then he's out. He says during this time, his most important mission is to find the next CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment and transition to that person as soon as possible. Now, this clearly tells me that Jim Ryan didn't just retire, didn't just resign, didn't just leave. He was pushed out, he was kicked out, he was drop kicked out. This was a proper John Cena moment, straight over the top of the ring. He was out for the count. They kicked him out, plain and simple. You don't go from getting rid of your, if it was a planned thing, someone would have been brought in and they would have transitioned with Jim Ryan through the process. Much like Bobby Kotick, is there right now. He's there till December the 31st. He will transition and help manage and get the person up to speed, on board, essentially, the person that's going to be taking his role. That is a really good way to do it. That is a seamless way to do it. And that is a way where, the person that's being replaced isn't being booted out, but is literally just being replaced because it's their time. Here, Jim Ryan just abruptly said that he's resigning, he's leaving, he's done. Nah, this just proves that that was not the case and that he was kicked out. He spends 36 years with Sony. He's going to retire by 2025 and join Jimbo in Hawaii. His mission, only seeking for CEO in 24-25. No roadmap, nothing. Sony will just beg third-party games till 2025. If he fails, Sony will go third-party. I don't think Sony will go third-party, and I don't want Sony to go third-party. This dude doesn't know what he's talking about. Sony going third-party would be a massive, massive, massive problem for the games industry. That should never happen. Anyone that thinks either Sony or Microsoft should go third party should get their head re-examined. That ain't it. That is not it. But you can see all these people like, oh look, they didn't sell it in 11 days, they sold it in about 5-6 months. There's a big difference in that. But at the same time, according to their pool, they have nothing planned for 24. That's a big problem if they've got nothing planned for next year, especially if they're losing money year on year. I don't know, man. It doesn't really look good for Sony. It really doesn't. They seem to be in a really bad place. They've recently just announced that their 12 gas games as a service games, live service games, they're basically cutting half of them and they're pushing them out to 2026, and they're going to try and focus on 6 in the interim to try and get those out potentially by 2025. Maybe even see something at the tail end of next year. Should they be gambling down on live services? I think this is a big risk for Sony right now, because 9 out of 10 live service games fail. And it's really rare for one to stick. We've seen so many, whether it's Anthem, whether it's Avengers, whether it's Warframe. You can say what you want about Warframe. It's not exactly bringing in the millions, and it's not like the most, it's not the first name that jumps onto people's lips. When I think of live service games, the first name, like it or not, that comes to my mind are either MMOs, which are live service, gacha games, which are live service, or the likes of Destiny, right? Those are the main ones. The Division. To me, that's a bigger game than Warframe. And I know that's going to upset people, but it is what it is. Sony shouldn't be focusing on this right now. They should really just cut their losses. They got rid of Jim. No one in Sony wants to do live service games. I think Factions 2, if it's still a thing, I don't think it is a thing, because the dude could have openly said, Factions 2 is the game I'm working on, but all he said was, I am working on that multiplayer game. There's no reason why he couldn't say, I'm working on Factions 2, because at the end of the day, it's public. The game has been announced. It's not like it's a secret. It's been publicly announced. And the fact that it's been told, all the developers got let go, all the freelancers working on that project got let go, and now someone comes out and says, I'm working on that game, that could mean anything. I know Sony fans want to run off with it being Factions 2, and I kind of hope it's Factions 2 because I enjoyed Factions. But, I don't see it. There's no reason for him not to say, I'm working on Factions 2. But when you're looking at stuff like this, and they're just losing money left, right, and center, that financial status over here, this is awful. This is awful. They're losing like huge percentages of money. And this isn't just now, this is year on year for the last couple of years, because their first party games just cost so much money and not enough PlayStation players, because we all know PlayStation players buy their games, they're just not buying enough. Whereas on the other hand, when you're looking at Xbox, you've got all those people buying that subscription. Every month they're getting that money regardless of whether people play the games or not. That is revenue. That is all revenue. And, it's a different business model, but it's clear that one of them isn't working and the other one is. And the one that isn't working clearly doesn't have enough players buying the games. They're probably at this point, with the cost of how much these games are and the reluctance that everyone has to use AI to try and bring costs down for these studios, you probably need to sell somewhere in the region of about 10 to 15 million for these AAA games to actually start turning a tidy profit. But that's not happening here. Unless the game is super popular, it's not happening. And it's not like Sony is the Nintendo of franchises, where Nintendo's prices never go down. I mean, a Nintendo game going on sale is 50 quid. When you're talking about a sale on Xbox and PlayStation, it's a tenner. It's 20 quid. But when you're talking about a Nintendo, a full price game is say 60, 70 quid. Their sales are 50, 60 quid. That's a good price, people say. It's a different world when it comes to Nintendo. But I digress. This is really bad. Sony needs to sort their house out. I don't want them to fail, because that would be bad for the industry. But with no games coming this year, pretty much, I guess Spider-Man was the only one first party you can count. And I guess next year, apparently there's nothing on the roadmap that was presented on the call at all. A dry year for 2025. I guess this is why they were pushing hard for games like Silent Hill to be exclusive for PlayStation, because they are heavily going to have to rely on games like Silent Hill 2, Stellar Blade, and it's rough. It's really rough. They're on the receiving end, and I really hope they can weather the storm, because it's going to be a rough ride. And as you can see here, we left the best till last. As I say here, Microsoft pays $70 billion, doesn't break a sweat. Sony applies to Klarna for a free installment payment plan of $3.7 billion, and as of today, they finally own Bungie. They finally paid off their Klarna installment plan with free payments, because that is actually what happened. Well, not the Klarna part, but they paid it off in 3 installments because they couldn't afford to pay it off all in one go. And considering that 1.2 billion in shares that were given to Sony staff to stick around, that was bought by Bungie and given back to Sony, you know, it's ridiculous, right? Sony Interactive Entertainment PlayStation has now completed 3.7 billion Bungie acquisition. They now own Bungie, and Bungie have a free get out of jail clause card on their hand that they can use and activate anytime they want, and they'll just buy their shares back of Sony. And Sony can't say no. This is ridiculous. Not only did they decide to apply to Klarna, pay in 3 installments to pick up Bungie like it's some kind of website purchase because they can't afford 3.7 billion, but now their fans are thinking they've got enough money to go and buy Take-Two and Rockstar Games with GTA 6. What are these fans, loopy or something? If you can barely afford Bungie, how the hell are you going to afford Take-Two? I mean, do they really think they're going to get a what are they going to do? Go to Klarna and say, hey, I want a 500 billion installment plan with you for the next week. I can't even say it. Oh man. Hey, Klarna, can I have an installment plan, please? No. Man, it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. These people are crazy if they think they can actually afford Take-Two when they can barely afford Bungie. They couldn't even afford to pay for it in one go. I mean, Microsoft and Sony, they are not the same. I know PlayStation fans keep saying it, but what they don't realize is they're only insulting themselves. They really are not the same. You've got one company over here who keeps taking L's after L's after L's. They keep taking hits after hits. They keep making losses after losses, and now we find out they couldn't even afford to pay for Bungie in one go, and they're going to go and buy Take-Two? I mean, by the time they finish paying off Take-Two, my kids are going to have their kids who are going to get married. And my son is 16! That's crazy. That's crazy, crazy, crazy. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are aiming for that 500 likes for this video. We almost hit it in our previous video. Not the one I released today, but the one before. Almost there. For those of you that want to support me further, you can do that from my Patreon, through YouTube membership, or through Super Thanks. If you really enjoyed this video, there's a Super Thanks button now underneath the video. You can click on that and thank me that way. Again, all the links in the description below. You can join my Discord if you want to chat with me, or just show me some news that I may have missed that I can put into a new video. I do credit people when they do that. Right, that's it. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.